Chattanooga was basically Jim Crow. It was, they had the first streetcar riots, which was 50 years before the Birmingham bus riots, was in Chattanooga. Randolph Miller, who ran the newspaper here, the black newspaper of the day, organized this, and that was when that started. And that's pretty much what Chattanooga was doing in 1960 when desegregation came around. And that's beginning, that was 50 years ago, that's the beginning of my 50 years of hate, violence, and riots. So I've got all kinds of pictures here. And I'm going to make a copy of this book for a friend next week. And when I get that done, I'm going to give you a copy of this. It'll be part of your organization's archives. You can keep it and do whatever you want with it. Well, in 1960, some students in North Carolina decided they were going to eat at flight lunch counters. These were college students. And they did it, and they succeeded. And it caught on. Well, in Chattanooga, it wasn't college kids, it was high school kids from Howard. Annie Thomas. How many of you people here know her? I know Maxine does. I mean, she was one of them. And had some elementary school children. I mean, these were young kids. This wasn't high school people. I mean, it wasn't college people. The cops came down on them. They used high-pressure water hoses to wash the people off the streets. Now, all of you have heard of the hoses in Birmingham. That was 61, that was a year later. Chattanooga did it first. And they still have the potential of doing that. Maxine and I was doing a little project one time. What came up? Fire trucks. They unrolled their hoses, they plugged them up to the things, and they were getting ready to put the water on us. And a friend came up with a television camera and said it was going to film everything. And they just walked off and left the hoses to the street. Remember that, Maxine? So that happened. But anyway, that was 1960. I've got a bunch of pictures here for that, and that mobilized racism in the local area. All of you have heard about the Tea Party, right? You think that's a modern phenomenon, don't you? Well, in 1960, there was a woman named Joyce Gamble, who was a member of the CCC. Ever hear of the CCC? That's Concerned Citizens Councils. That's KKK solved. She founded the Chattanooga Tea Party. She was raising funds to fight desegregation. And she gave everybody a tea bag, and she called it the Chattanooga Tea Party. And here's a picture of her doing it. And the Klan activity intensified also then. Also, during that summer, there was a number of bombings. Some houses were blown up in St. Elmo and other places. And that was when local people started organizing for civil rights. Now, Howard was desegregated with no violence, no trouble whatsoever. In fact, I've got a picture here of the black students helping a white boy adjust. And they all look happy to me. 1968, M.L. King was assassinated. There was riots all across the country, and Chattanooga was no exception. It started with a remembrance march, and people started remembering past abuses and stuff, and things kind of got out of hand. Some windows got broken and stuff. And then police came in with their clubs, like they always do, beat a lot of people, and this time people didn't go quiet. They had learned how to make Molotov cocktails. A few places got burned. And a lot of people got beat and arrested. And these are all public pictures. I got these from the files at the Chattanooga Library. These were in the newspapers. I mean, I'm not exaggerating anything I'm telling you. They basically shut down Chattanooga. I mean, here's the cops. Market Street looks like a ghost town. Then 1969. Other parts of the country, desegregation was already an accomplished fact long before then. I have a close friend who, as a child, desegregated the schools in Prince William County, Virginia. That was in 1960. It was a rough year on her, but when that was over, desegregation was an accomplished fact, and it was ended. 69 is still going on here, because they did it one class at a time. And I've got a friend here who was going to school when this was going on, and she went to school out near there, and the year before her class was supposed to desegregate Barrett High School, every day after class, the white boys from Raymond would come over and beat up all the black kids with clubs and stuff. And the teachers and cops and everything wouldn't defend them at all. And they were saying, if you come to Brainerd, we're going to kill you. They came to Brainerd. And intensive rioting resulted. And of course the cops came out with their dogs and menaced people, and CCC was present. This is a Ringgold physician. His name is John P. Hoover. You might know him. He's from Ringgold. Here he is. He was the leader of the people at the school. And again, there was a few rocks got thrown, a little damage done. 1971 was a big one. This was from Wilson Pickett. Any of you remember Wilson Pickett? He was a noted singer. And he was going to perform at the Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga. Well, other people had warned him, said, no, make sure them people pay you before you come on, because a lot of times you go on, and when you get ready to leave, men with money is going to be gone, you won't get nothing. So he came in and he said, I want my money. And they wouldn't give it to him. So he told his men, they'll just play quietly while we load up the stuff. And they got out. And the last man in, they got to the microphone and said, you need to get your money back, the show's over. And the people came out on the street and they were kind of irritated. They threw some garbage cans through windows, and there was some minor looting on Georgia Avenue. Well, the police strongly overreacted to this. I mean, they all came out from everywhere. Where did they go? Did they go to Georgia Avenue? No. They went to 9th Street in Alton Park. And every black bar, every black business, they started arresting anybody as they came out and beating them savagely. And there's pictures demonstrating this. And it was so bad in Alton Park that a few people started shooting back. They murdered a person there. Pass that picture around. This is an official wire service photograph. They don't put pictures like that in the paper anymore, but he was alleged throwing rocks at a cop car. If you look at him, he didn't have no shoes on. He's laying in a pool of blood. He obviously was woke up in his house and came out to see what was happening. They killed him as quick as he came out. This went on for 3 days. And the thumb got a little more pressure. They brought in the highway patrol. That wasn't enough. So what did they do next? Army. Chattanooga was under military occupation again. Guns, bayonets, everything. This is a picture of the Attorney General making a speech on the steps of City Hall. Guys with shotguns all around him. I mean, very militant. Here's a picture of the brave National Guardsmen raiding teenage children at Riverside High School. And I've talked to some kids, I mean, they were grown people now, but they were children when that happened, and they said all they was doing was just coming out and see what's happening, and the National Guard came in and just treated them very badly. And hundreds of people was arrested for that. I mean, that was part of the way things went then. 1972, there was another big riot. Here's people being beaten in the streets. And all the cops always carrying their big clubs. In the old days, the cops used to call that having stick time, and that's what they got a kick out of. They like to beat people. I've been beat a couple of times myself. I know what it's like. Then, 1974. I was here then. This is 9th Street. Here's another picture I want to pass around. They blew up a building. There was 11 people seriously injured, and the story I got was there was a homeless person living in the building that was killed. And I had gotten to know a lot of people that was living on Ninth Street. I used to go to the Carousel Club. I don't know if any of you remember the old Carousel Club on Ninth Street, but that was my favorite place in those days. And they explained to me, this is what in Chattanooga they call urban renewal. Now, urban renewal means black removal. And this again, you've got to remember, you think in terms of weeks and a month maybe for your objectives. The enemy, the silent hand, thinks in long term. They were planning this then, that they wanted to, I mean, Chattanooga's no longer industrial. They don't need the blacks. They don't need a labor force. So getting them out. And this has gone on for years. And about 4 or 5 years ago, Mikhail Muhammad, a friend of mine who's now deceased, and I went to Alton Park and told them what they were going to do out there. They had gotten $80 million of federal money to improve housing for blacks in Alton Park, which on the surface would be a laudable thing to do. Wouldn't you agree? Well, we knew what they was really going to do. And me and Mikhail went out, we had a loudspeaker system, and we was telling the people what was really going to happen. And we were taken seriously enough that the pigs set up roadblocks and wouldn't let nobody come in where we was at. But our speakers up, we turned them up loud enough they could hear us and sing Elmo. And we stayed there all night. And they did exactly what we said they was going to do. They tore down the projects.